It's not as fun to drive as a 1 or a 3 Series, the light steering sees to that. It's definitely tuned for city streets and family life, but it's still a BMW at heart. Just when you thought MPVs were no more, BMW goes and launches a brand new one. This is the new 2 Series Active Tourer. It's got a new look, new tech, and new family-friendly features. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you why you should, or indeed why you shouldn't, consider one of these over the current crop of grey, generic, boring family SUVs. But before we do, make sure you're subscribed to the Carbuyer YouTube channel and you hit the bell icon so you're notified when new videos go live. Oh, and if you like this one, give it a thumbs up. As we all know, the big, boxy, practical MPVs that sat on every street corner in the 90s have all but disappeared, replaced by the Hyundai Tucsons, Kia Sportages, and Ford Cougars of the world. In fact, if you discount van-based MPVs like the Peugeot Rifter, just 2 manufacturers remain: Mercedes with the B-Class and BMW with its new Active Tourer. But even with a BMW badge on the nose, this car needs to be practical above all else. Sure, you can drip it in chrome and fit the oversized grille from other BMWs, but ultimately you don't buy an MPV to carry around a laptop bag, suitcases, buggies, that kind of thing. That's far more appropriate. But here's the thing, every car gets an electric tailgate, that's standard across the range, but open it up and it's just not that big back there. And there's no 7-seat version either, and there are no plans to add one at a later date. But look, see this? That's just 415 litres. That's 35 litres more than a Volkswagen Golf, but quite a bit less than, say, a Hyundai Tucson or something like that. Admittedly, that's only part of the story though. This is the mild hybrid model, so it's a little bit smaller back here than it is in the diesel. If you go for that car, you get 470 litres. What's more, if I roll the seats forward, things do improve slightly, but yes, then you do get this dip in the floor and things can fall down there, never to be seen again. Of course, you can fold those seats down all manner of ways, and you've got almost 1,500 litres to play with. Near enough any way you look at it, Merc beats BMW when it comes to outright carrying capacity. Happily, things are quite a bit better back here, or at least they are if you rake the seats back to where they were originally, like they are now. There's loads of room for heads, legs and elbows, and because of this car's tall roofline, it just feels like a really spacious car. And while it doesn't have the outright height of an SUV, these seats are a little bit raised, so that not only gives you a good view out, it makes fitting child seats nice and easy. Now, you don't get your own climate controls back here, but there are a pair of vents and a couple of USB ports. In terms of storage, you get some door bins, some pockets in the back, and despite the small-ish boot, that's a theme that continues up front. I mean, look, there's a big storage compartment under here, there's some hidden storage under the armrest, a couple of cup holders, a massive charging pad for mobile phones up there, even big enough for the biggest smartphones these days. Overall though, there's just loads of space to store odds and ends. There's obviously a big glove box and the usual door bins as well. Quality, this feels like a really luxurious product and actually a big step on from the old 2 Series Active Tourer. One area where it really wasn't though was the infotainment system. Okay, the graphics were looking a little bit dated and perhaps there wasn't the endless functionality that you get in newer BMWs, but crucially, it was simple to operate. Remember that click wheel on the center console? Clockwise to go down, anti-clockwise to go up, simple left and right flicks to go left and right, all that is gone. You now need to control everything via this, okay, admittedly very crisp, responsive 10.7-inch touchscreen. Even the climate controls are buried within that screen. It certainly looks flash and I love the way it merges with these digital dials behind the steering wheel, but I can bet that, well, 90% of people aren't going to want or need the extra features in that screen. Overall, this setup feels very similar to Mercedes, just a little bit more premium. There are 3 specs to choose from when it comes to ordering or choosing your 2 Series Active Tourer: Sport, Luxury or M Sport. All cars get LED lights, alloy wheels and climate control, as well as those dual screens and the automatic tailgate that we just mentioned. As you'd expect, Luxury ups the kit count, while M Sport cars like ours have a slightly racier look, as well as bigger wheels and Alcantara trim on the seats. Extras fitted to our car include a panoramic roof and a Harman Kardon stereo. Full specs, as always, can be found at carbuyer.co.uk. And what about the driving experience? Well, BMW's have always been famed for their driver-focused handling, whether that's hatchbacks, saloons or SUVs, and the original 2 Series Active Tourer proved that MPVs could be fun as well. Thankfully, little has changed in that respect. It's not as fun to drive as a 1 or a 3 Series, the light steering sees to that. It's definitely tuned for city streets and family life, but it's still a BMW at heart. It's certainly more engaging than a Mercedes B-Class. It turns into corners pretty keenly, grip is good, and this 223i can shift as well. It's a mild hybrid, so it has a little bit of electrical assistance, but that's mostly to help it switch off when idling and sitting in stop-start traffic. The important number here is 215 brake horsepower, which is more than quite a few warm and hot hatches. 0 to 62 miles an hour takes 7 seconds. The plug-in hybrids are even faster. The range-topping 230e, thanks to its powerful electric motor and all-wheel drive, slashes that to 5.5 seconds. No one needs a family bus capable of performance like that, surely. Not when you look at the price of more than £40,000. We expect, therefore, that most buyers will make do with the 220i, the basic petrol. It's still sprightly enough and should prove pretty cheap to run. It'll do 47.9 miles per gallon according to BMW, compared to the 223i's 42.8 mpg. There's a diesel too, capable of almost 60 mpg, but as is so often the case these days, it only really suits high mileage drivers. Those plug-in hybrids are worth a look if you're a company car driver or can plug in regularly. BMW claims a pure electric range of up to 55 miles. Bigger batteries are making these cars into true part-time EVs, and the savings could be substantial. But if we ignore straight-line speed, this definitely feels more grown up than the old 2 Series Active Tourer. BMW has done a few things to make sure it's quieter than before. The gearbox, it's smoother and more slick. This is auto only now, remember, there's no manual gearbox option. And if you lift off at higher speeds on the motorway or what have you, it'll coast, which again makes it quieter still. The one thing I would say is that these wheels, these optional 19-inch wheels, mated to the stiffer M Sport suspension, can make it fidget a little bit, and it can make it noisier on rougher roads or concrete sections of motorways. So if it was us, we'd stick with the smaller wheels. Right, well that just about wraps things up. How about some deal makers and deal breakers? The 2 Series Active Tourer doesn't have the biggest boot, but it's still a practical car. The seats fold in loads of ways and there's loads of room in the back for adults. It still sets the benchmark for fun too. It's more refined and grown up than before, but it can still be playful when you want it to be. Finally, the materials inside are pure BMW and there's loads of tech to play with. Though in reality, that is also a negative. The user interface just isn't as intuitive as it was. We miss the simplicity of the old car's click wheel. Varying the climate controls within the screen is a big no-no too. It is cheaper than the equivalent X1, but mainstream SUV rivals like the Hyundai Tucson are better value and arguably more family friendly. It's pleasing to know that if you crunch the numbers, this new 2 Series Active Tourer isn't actually that much more expensive per month than the equivalent 1 Series. It's a shame you can't get 7 seats anymore, but the interior feels loads more upmarket and it's still one of the best cars in its class to drive. We'll leave it up to you as to whether or not this car offers enough style to go with the substance, but if you don't want another generic SUV, then this could be right up your street. If you like this video but fancy something more fashionable, an SUV, then why not watch our review of the 2022 Carbuyer Car of the Year, the Hyundai Tucson, or our Family Cars playlist. Thanks for watching.